And we are back up.
We will now have the presentations of the diplomas.
The fifth grade teachers pose these questions to the students. What do you think you will be doing in 20 years? What is your favorite Noelani memory? And what is a life lesson you have learned from your time here at Noelani School? As each of the students receive their diplomas, we will read one of their responses. Chloe La'a. Chloe learned to be respectful and to learn from her mistakes. Work hard and don't compare yourself to others. Brennan Bailey. Brennan imagines himself as an author and illustrator or a pro soccer player. He imagines himself to be the best he can be and the best he can do to help the world stay healthy and the people around it. Reese Kanemoto. Reese's favorite Noelani memory would be when he went to the Big Island in 4th grade. Karasan Salafis. In school, Karasan learned that we sometimes make mistakes, yet if we look at the way humans are designed to learn, we will learn by making mistakes. We learn to walk by falling down. If we never fall down, we would never walk. Mariah Han. Mariah learned that the purpose here is not to just learn, but build friendships, build skills, and build myself to really just be me. Everyone is different, so they express themselves differently, and she learned to express her own personality rather than following other people's. Shiloh Hesia. Shiloh will either be a sports star or a lawyer living in a mansion with 3 dogs of different breeds, a golden retriever named Macy, a pug named Doug, and a Dachshund Shih Tzu named Kuipo, and maybe have kids. Maybe. Jillian Gerwig. As a student here at Noelani, Jillian learned a lot of things like being kind to others, treating people how you want to be treated, and by doing this, she made a lot of friends here. Sequoia Zarate Ramirez. Sequoia wants to be a lawyer and then a judge. She wants to live in Paris in a comfortable apartment and write novels in her free time. Skylar Espinal. Skylar will be an architect in a mansion that he made in California with 2 dogs, one named Simba and the other named Pumbaa, with a wife and also no kids because they are too hard to handle. Daniel Brummel. In 20 years, Daniel will be traveling the world with his dog. He will go to Paris, Vancouver, and Hollywood. He will also live in Hawaii and become a teacher. Lillian Yim. In 20 years, Lillian will be a doctor living in a penthouse with a white fluffy Shih Tzu puppy. She might have a family of her own and earn a reasonable amount of money. She will draw and make art in her free time and visit her friends often. Sophia Tung. A life lesson Sophia learned at Noelani is to not be shy. She learned that sometimes you have to be open to new people. New people bring new friendships, and new friendships make great school years. Leo Nakai. A life lesson Leo learned is to work together, never give up, and work hard. This is an important thing because if he didn't learn about this, he would have had a hard time doing his work and tests. Brevin Blackwell. My favorite Noelani memory was when Noelani helped me with rhoticism and setting tutors. Without this, he thinks he would still struggle to say letters. Jaden Karezi. In 20 years, Jaden is not sure what to expect, but he thinks it will feel like a roller coaster ride. He hopes that he will have a job in acting and comedy. Jack Ibarra. In 20 years, Jack will be playing as a pro golfer. Jake Meissner. Jake's favorite memory here was Mayfair and the dances. Leora Fernandez. Life lessons that Leora has learned at Noelani to be kind, honest, hardworking, creative, and she has learned that teachers make an impact on your life. Afit Fidi. Life lessons that Afit has learned at Noelani are to never bully, always smile, have fun, and that Noelani is awesome. Aiden Souza. Aiden thinks in 20 years he will be a Twitch streamer or YouTuber, and he will be living somewhere in Seattle. Angelo Zugris. Angelo wants to be a professional hunter living in a cabin that he made himself in Alaska. He will sell hides for money. Irina Zhu. In 20 years, Irina pictures herself as a professor at a university in physics or chemistry. She will have minored in computer science in college and gotten a PhD. She will make a reasonable amount of money and will have 1 child.
Lana Geyer. Life lessons that Lana learned at Noelani are to slow down, don't rush things, and nothing comes for free. Ethan Peel. In 20 years, I will open a seafood restaurant called Hawaiian Imported Seafood in Florida, specializing in spicy king crab legs and poke, and have a pet frog named Quake. Kian Gerbakchan. In 20 years, Kian will be playing Major League Baseball on the LA Dodgers. He will have a house here in Hawaii with a wife, a small dog, and one kid. The house will be 2 stories and have a good-sized pool. Shireen Kanai. In 20 years, she sees herself working as a scientist, being single, and hopefully traveling to different places around the world. Emmeline Doan. In 20 years, Emmeline sees herself as an engineer working to fix and solve software development. She sees herself living in a secluded, quiet apartment with 1 cat. Royston Strom. One memory Royston had was when it was grandparents' day, and he was with his grandfather, and he was telling a story to Sam and Aiden. That memory will never be forgotten from that day. Parker Churchill. In 20 years, Parker sees himself as a professional skateboarder, competing in some of the world's biggest events. He will be living in Hawaii, married with 2 kids. He will also surf for fun. Hannah On. In 20 years, Hannah sees herself working hard to support her family as a neurosurgeon and living in a decent-sized house in Hawaii. Bear Aubrey. In 20 years, Bear sees himself as a professional baseball player. He will be living in a mansion with his wife, 2 children, and a dog. He will have a Lamborghini and a gold chain. Jasmine Hiyakumoto. In 20 years, Jasmine sees herself as a dentist, helping both adults and children with dental health. She will have a dog and a cat and living in a 2-story house. Lucas Soga. One of Lucas's best memories at Noelani is going to the Big Island. He remembers staying up way past the time they're supposed to go to sleep and visiting all the cool places with his partner. Arasi Tangu. In 20 years, Arasi sees himself working a stable job, having a 2-story house with a Ram 1500 as a car, because that's what cool people have. He'll have a wife and 1 kid because he knows how hectic it can be with just 2 kids. He'll be living in California somewhere in the suburbs. Kaylee Yu. In 20 years, Kaylee sees herself as an interior designer, living and working in Honolulu, Hawaii. Charlize Serta. Life lessons Charlize learned at Noelani are to respect others, don't judge them by their looks, and to never be selfish. Kiki Lan. In 20 years, Kiki is going to be a vet, have a family and 2 children, also with a car and a dog. Eleni Vaca. In 20 years, Eleni sees herself living in a nice house on Maui with 1 dog and 2 bunnies. Sebastian Gross. Sebastian sees himself as a professional NBA player, playing on the Warriors basketball team. He plans to have a wife and no kids. Sam Golub. In 20 years, Sam sees himself as a doctor living in a house right outside of Montreal, Canada, with a pet pug named Peter. Taryn Lamb. In 20 years, Taryn will be a baseball player and play for the Angels. He will also have a family with 2 kids. Krista Gomes. Krista's best Noelani memory was going to the Big Island and being able to have fun with classmates. The Big Island trip was so exciting because they went on a plane to a different island and had their own rooms with their trip partners. Hunter Gibby. One of Hunter's favorite memories was going to the Big Island in 4th grade and having a pillow fight with his group. Megan Nagata. In 20 years, she sees herself being a doctor, living on the mainland with her husband and a little chihuahua. She live in a 1-story house with a pool and possibly a jacuzzi too. Tomoya Ishida. In 20 years, he will have a PhD in paleontology, discovering new species of dinosaurs in Scotland. Sequoia Holbrook. In 20 years, Sequoia will have 3 children and live in a beach house in Hawaii with a dog.
Emmy Landgraf. One of Emmy's favorite memories was on the Big Island with River, Peja, and Peja's mom. They invited another group of girls into their hotel room and played games. Jace Okamoto. Jace sees himself with a doctorate in dermatology. He will be at Broward Health Medical Center program serving a 4-year residency. Liam Huang. In 20 years, Liam will be a professional soccer player on the Barcelona soccer team. He will live in a big house with his family. Jude Rodriguez. In 20 years, Jude sees himself becoming a veterinarian, preferably living in the suburbs. He wants 2 dogs, a corgi, and a cockapoo. Jackie Dobner. In 20 years, Jackie will open her own art studio in Florida. She will have a modern home and have 2 dogs named Mocha and Mochi and 1 black guinea pig named Boba. Peja Poggio. In 20 years, Peja will be working at her own business, have a master's degree, and travel around the world. She will also pursue photography as a part-time job and live in a big house in LA. Vincent Lau. One life lesson is that life isn't easy. You have to learn through perseverance, grit, and effort. Nainoa Gusman. In 20 years, Nainoa sees himself playing baseball. Also, he aspires to start a small rabbit business with his mom and dad in LA. Evan Huang. In 20 years, Evan wants to drive a white car. He wants to eat pizza in a treehouse in his backyard in Hawaii. Ian Watanabe. In 20 years, Ian will be working as a meteorologist, traveling to insane places and documenting snowstorms, hurricanes, and tornadoes. After traveling, he will live in a small house in Jackson Hole or Colorado. He will be with a black Bichon Frise named Cat, after his Minecraft dog, Cat. He will ski every chance he gets. Chloe Lee. In 20 years, Chloe aspires to be a hip-hop dancer. She wants to live in a medium-sized house with a small dog named Angel and maybe have 2 or 3 kids. Daniel Golub. In 20 years, Daniel sees himself finishing his doctorate in astronomy and getting a grant for his research. He wants to live in a big house somewhere in Canada with a pit bull named Beans and a golden retriever named Socks. Alex Bien. Alex's favorite Noelani memory is going to the Big Island. He enjoyed going to the Black Sand Beach. Sean Okumoto. In 20 years, Sean wants to become an investor following his dad's path. He wants to live in a modern house. Callista Bishop. In 20 years, Callista sees herself working as a fashion designer or veterinarian. She also wants to live in Hawaii with a dog, a Shih Tzu, or a yellow lab. Jacob Nakasone. Jacob's favorite memory is when he was vice president for the Noelani Student Council. He had a great time campaigning and enjoyed working with his fellow classmates. He enjoyed going to Roosevelt to meet student council members from other schools too. Duke Alamilo. Duke's favorite memories include meeting all the nice and great teachers and experiencing all the beautiful things here, such as the nice paintings and murals on the wall. Keanu Warren. In 20 years, Keanu will have a master's degree in archaeology. He will travel around the world and dig for fossils and ancient artifacts. He will own a mansion with a large open area and an infinity pool. He will also have a husky and name him Balto. Anela Colo. In 20 years, Anela wants to become either a biologist or a physiologist working in a healthy environment. She'll have a small, clean home, living and taking care of her parents, and start her own family. Andrew Park. In 20 years, Andrew sees himself being a football player. He wants to move back to Korea and own 1 Pomeranian named Apple. Daisy Zan. Daisy sees herself as a businesswoman working in an office and doing Twitch streams as a hobby after work. She also wants to do art commissions online. River Omoso. In 20 years, River imagines herself living in a beautiful house on the island of Oahu with a master's degree in cosmetology. She will have 4 dogs, Bailey, Archie, Clover, and Sophie, and counting. Also, she will earn a degree in fashion with a clothing line for disabled animals. Sage Meng. In 20 years, Sage sees himself as an investor and a builder because he is good at and enjoys doing both of those things. Teachers, students, and families, I would like to present to you the 58th graduating class of Noelani School, the class of 2021.
Okay, before we end, we'd like to thank Miss I for printing our diplomas and all the other support staff for helping us with the preparations with our graduation program. We would also like to thank the many parents who volunteered their time for graduation and legacy gift. We also want to thank the parents who donated items to our school throughout the years. You have made Noelani School the special place that it is. We wish the graduating class of 2021 much success at their new schools. And remember, once a gecko. Very good, yes. So this concludes our 2021 Noelani graduation program. Thank you for tuning in.
Just a quick word for everyone on the live stream. This was recorded, and so give us a little bit of time. It will be posted to our website, and you can watch it in its entirety. Thank you very much.